Hello everyone, Lid here, and we just get a full ascendancy node that will be available on early access, and this is official from GGG. So let's get started with the ascendancy. The first one is Storm Weaver, and the Storm Weaver we get 2-pointer over here, and this is exposure you inflict will have extra 20%. And another 2-pointer is number 10, and you will get elemental damage taken as energy shield. This can be a very good defensive node if most of the damage that come to us is elemental damage based on PoE 1. Elemental damage is one of the big chunk, but we just don't know how we're going to work on PoE 2. And number 2 will give you a skill of Elemental Storms. Create a stationary Fire Cold and Lightning Storm at the target locations. And number 3 will make the Elemental Storm have 150% more cooldown recovery rates. So this kind of stuff, number 2 and number 3, this is something you have to pay attention if you want to play this particular skill, because you have to take these two nodes. So meaning you're already going to spend 4 points of the ascendancy over here, and you got 4 points left because we only have 8-point ascendancy totals. And the Heavy Snow, Shaper of Winter, Strike Twice, and Shaper of Storms is all 4 nodes in the middles. And I think this is the node that we already know. Shaper of Winter is about shield, and Shaper of Storm is about shock. And the Strike Twice, you can double shock your enemy, and Heavy Snow, you can double chill your enemy. And point number 8 will give you Arcane Surge, and number 9 will increase the effect of Arcane Surge per 15 maximum mana. So this two node is related to Mana Stacker, and I don't know how good Arcane Surge will be even though you're mana stacking, but if you're stacking mana, this node can be an option. And the next one is Chronomancer, and for the Chronomancer, number 1 over here is Now and Again. Skill have 33% chance to not consume cooldown when used. And the number 2, we will have Time Snap, where it just reset all your cooldown of your art skills. And remember, as the before, this is 4 points to get the Time Snap. And for the 3 and 4 is 2 points over here. This one will give you Time Freeze. This is the one that's going to freeze everything. And this is the one that's going to revert your condition back to the certain point of time. And the next one is a 2-pointer, 5 and 6. 5 will give you 50% cast speed for 4 seconds every 12 seconds. The every 12-second one is, I don't know if it's going to be too long, but considering this is a 2-pointer, so it's probably not that bad. And number 6 is enemy in your presence are slow by 20%. And this two node is a very good defensive layer. And this is because if your enemy moves slower, you have more time to react. And number 7 is 30% of damage taken recoup as life. And this damage is all damage, so it doesn't have to be elemental like the Storm Weaver one. So this is a better recoup. And the number 8 is recoup effect instead occur over 4 seconds. So if I remember correctly, in PoE 1 it's also 4 seconds, so I assume in PoE 2, recoup is more than 4 seconds. Otherwise, this node doesn't make any much sense. But once again, recoup is a good defensive node, but I don't know if going to worth 4 points. That's the problems. But yeah, that's Chronomancer. And the next one is Titan. Titan is pretty straightforward. Number 1, this is 2-pointer. You will get more armor from the body armor. And number 2 and 3, this is for slam. Number 2, make your slam can cause aftershock. And number 3, every slam you use is ancestrally boost, meaning you get 20% more damage and 20% more AoE. And 4 and 5, and this is more like a utility. You get 20 inventory slots. And the 5th one, I think, is the big one. Increase effect of small passive skills. And I think number 5 is really strong. And number 6 and 7 is your hit or crushing blow, meaning you're going to cause heavy stuns. And when the enemy is heavy stun, you deal with 40% more damage against them. And these two last point over here will give you 15% more life. Also, so far I noticed that we do not have the small node. So the small node, you'll probably have to wait until the game release. But at least we have the big node reveal over here. Number 1 and 2 will be about breaking armor. Number 1, you can break armor equal to 10% of hit. And number 2, you can break armor to below 0. So there is a limitation that you cannot break enemy armor below 0. And the 3 and 4, this is, I think, is the totem one. The Jade is the one that you become a Jade. You are very tanky, you can tank few things. And the Ancestor Crawl, I think this is one that summon a lot of things. One of them is the monkey that I still don't know what it does. And the Wooden Wall will make the totem take 20% damage from hits for you. So number 6 and 7 will be about block, and 6 will give you 40% space chance to block from equipped shield instead of the shield value. So this will override the shield value. And the 7th one is 35% less block chance, but you can block all hit while shield is not raised. So you don't have to raise the shield in order to block something. And 8 and 9 is about war cry. Point number 8, the crops in your presence explode when you war cry and deal 25% of their life as physical damage. And point number 9 will make you ignore Warcry cooldown. And the next one is Ranger. And for number 1 and 2, this will be about frenzy charges. So the first point is you have 30% chance to gain maximum frenzy instead of only getting 1. And number 2 will make the benefit from consuming frenzy charges have a 50% chance to be double. I think this has something to do with barrage. And there's also a few skill like Rain of Arrow, and I forget one of them. But if you want to know more about this one, you can check Fabgun. The guy understands Poe more than anyone. And number 3 is the 2-pointer. This is the one that you have no accuracy penalty on distance. Don't know how good this one is. And number 4 and number 5. Number 4 you have to choose. A is point blank, meaning you're going to get damage when the projectile began, and the damage going to lose the further the projectile goes. And far shot is the opposites. You will gain more damage the further the projectile go. And number 5 is the endless munitions, skill fire and additional projectile. This is the same as PoE 1. I mean, weaker than PoE 1. I think PoE 1 is fire 2 additional projectile. And 6 is the 2-pointer, and this make you able to apply additional mark. And 7 and 10 is about tailwind. Point number 7 will give you tailwind on skill use, but you will lose all the tailwind when you get hit. And point number 8 will make you take 3% less damage per tailwind. And the tailwind maximum stack is 10, so it's 30% less damage on the maximum tailwind. And the next one is Pathfinder. The first one and second one this is about flash. The number 1 you will get 50% more flash as gain. And number 2, you're going to make your life flash not remove when you fill your HP, because usually when you click your life flash and your HP hit full, the effect of life flash will be gone, whether the life flash effect is over or not. And for number 3 and 4, this will be about poisons. Number 3, the most damaging poison on enemy you kill is spread to other enemies, so this is like poison proliferations. And number 4, you can double the number of poison you can inflict on enemy, but the downside is you have 35% less poison durations. So number 5 will be about concoctions. There is 5 concoctions. Poisonous concoction will give chaos damage and also poisons. Fulminating will give lightning exposure. Shattering will give cold exposure. And explosive is fire exposure, and bleeding concoctions will cause bleeding. And point number 6 is also a 2-pointer. It will give you 5 passive skill points. This can be huge. And also 7 and 9, this is more about utility. Number 7 is you have 30% less movement speed penalty when using skill while moving. And number 8, you are unaffected by slow. Based on the PoE 1, unaffected by slow is actually a big deal. And the next one is Blood Mage. And the first node is Sanguine Mancy. And if you play Blood Mage, the first node you always have to take Sanguine Mancy. So your skill now going to have life cost equal to your base mana cost. It's also going to grant you skill life remnants. And this make, if you kill an enemy or you critical hit an enemy, you have a chance to drop Life Remnants. And Life Remnant can heal you, and it can overflow. So overflow, the limit is double your HP. So let's say you have 2000 HP. This overflow, you can keep taking the Life Remnant until you hit 4000 life. Now, one note about the overflow, we do not know how the mechanic exactly works, and I don't think we have overflow on Path Official 1. And number 2, this is 2-pointer, Vitality Siphon. This is 10% spell damage, leech as life. And number 3 is your curse have infinite durations. Now, this one, I don't know how good this one, because we have Blasphemy. And Blasphemy only costs like 30 spirits to use. But the downside of Blasphemy, you kind of have to be close to your enemy. So maybe this have a point, but so I don't know how strong this node is. And another 2-pointer is Blood Barbs, and this you gain 10% damage as extra physical damage, and elemental damage also contribute to bleeding magnitude. Only the magnitude, but not the chance. So you still need something to cause the bleed itself. Number 5 and 6 over here, this is the 4-pointer, and number 5 will give you 1 critical damage per 40 life, and number 6 will make your base critical hit chance for spell is 15%. This is actually huge because this is the base critical, and 50% is pretty high. And point number 7 is over here. This is pretty similar to Progenesis, so 25% of life loss from hits is prevented, and that much life is lost over 4 seconds. So it's basically just you take the 25% damage that coming into you, and that's going to happen in 4 seconds. So it will be split over 4 seconds. And the number 8 is you're going to gain energy shield from equipped body as extra maximum life. So this is also kind of like a life stacking build. The whole ascendancy is revolving around life. And the next one is Infernalist. Infernalist, we have number 1 is Altered Flesh. I think this one is new. 20% of cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage, and 20% of physical damage taken as chaos damage. Now the physical taken as chaos, I don't know how good that is. If you combine that with chaos inoculations, which basically mean you immune to chaos, this just straight up 20% physical damage reductions. And for the cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage, this will be good if you have more maximum fire rest, which I assume you probably will have to go anyway, because this ascendancy revolving around fire spell. And the 2, 3, and 4, this is all about Baidat. Number 2 is Baidat Case. You gain maximum mana per 6 life, and Baidat Hand give you 1 maximum energy shield per 8 maximum life, and Baidat Wheel 1 maximum spirit per 25 maximum life. So the Baidat Wheel is mostly for minions, I think. And number 5 and 6, this is about the demon forms. So number 5 will grant you the demon forms, and number 6 make you have maximum of 10 demon flames. So on the demon forms, every second you will get a demon flame, and 1 demon flame will give you increased damage, but also will give you damage over time. So the more demon flame you get, the more increased damage you're going to have, and more damage over time you're going to get too. And for the 7, 8, and 9, this is one small cluster over here, and number 8 for number 7 is Pyromantic Pact. This is the one that we see on the reveal. The maximum mana will be replaced by Infernal Flame. And the way to use the Infernal Flame is on the 8 and 9. Number 8, while not on lowly Infernal Flame, this meaning like above 30%, all damage from you and allies in your presence contribute to ignite chance and magnitude. And number 9, while on higher Infernal Flame, you and your allies gain 20% damage as fire damage. And the number 10 is the 2-pointer. This will give you Loyal Hound. This summon will give you basically 20% damage reductions, because 20% damage coming from hits, it will go to the Hound before you. And number 11 is another 2-pointer. It will give you 30% more critical damage bonus, but you will become ignited whenever you deal a critical hit. And it will take 15% of your life and energy shield as fire damage per second. So this is a high risk, high reward. So the next one is Witch Hunter. Number 1 over here, this is 2-pointer. You will have 20 passive skill point. And number 2 will give you Killing Strike. And point number 3 will give you Decimating Strike, which basically hit against full enemy will remove between 5 to 30% of life. If you're lucky, you instantly remove 30% of life of your enemies. And this can be very huge on bossing. So the next one is 4 and 5, and number 4 will give your enemy maximum concentration equal to 40% of their maximum life, and you can break them with your damage. And with point number 5, you will deal up to 30% more damage to enemy based on their missing concentration. So the lower the concentrations, the more damage you're going to deal. And this is more damage, not increased damage. This bonus is multiplicative. Number 6 and 7, number 6 grant you sorcery reward. It will reduce your armor and evasions by 50%. And number 7 is to increase the effect of sorcery wards. And number 8 is another 2-pointer. This is the explode node. Basically make your enemy, if you kill them, they have a chance to explode and dealing 100% of their life as physical damage. And now we have Gemling Legionnaire. Number 1, the node over here, is plus 10% quality of all skill. And number 2 will give you a plus 1 to level of all skill. And number 3 will give you 30% less cost of skill, but your skill gem will have 30% more attack requirements. And number 4, 5, or 6 is over here. Number 4 will give you 3 additional skill slot. And number 5 will make you able to use 2 copies of the same support gem in the different skills. So this one can be very, very huge considering we have that limitation in game. But it's also, we do not know the full effect of this ascendancy, but I think it will be very, very strong. And point number 6 will give you maximum cold, fire, and lightning resistance, depend on your support gem that you put in your skill gem. And number 7 will make your attribute requirement from the gem can be satisfied by your highest attributes. So you only need to care about one attribute. And number 8 is inherent bonus from intelligence, strength, and dexterity, out double. And the last one we have Monk. So point number 1, you will gain 1 spirit every 6 energy shield on equipped body armor, and you're also going to gain 1 spirit for every 15% evasion rating on equipped armor, but you cannot gain spirit from equipment. And number 2, going to make your evasions also grant physical damage reduction. This one is, I think, is pretty good, but you will lose 40% less evasion rating. But I think this node is still pretty good defensive node. And number 3, this is Meditate. We see this on the reveal. This will double your energy shield. Number 4, 5, and 6, I think this is also on the reveal. 4 is you can damage as extra cold, and freezing enemy create chilling ground. And I'm Thunder, 10% damage as extra lightning damage, and also you have 25% chance on shocking enemy to create shock brown. And point number 6 will give you unbound avatar. Number 7 is a 2-pointer, and your meta skills gain 35% more energy. And number 8 will make your critical hit ignore enemy resistance. So this one is really good. And in PoE 1, I think we have the same node as this one on Templar. And the 9 over here will give you skill elemental expressions. An elemental expression will create a fire explosions, arching bolt of lightning, and icy wave of projectile. And the explosion will depend on your strength. The bolt of lightning will depend on the dexterity, and the wave will depending on your intelligence stats. And the last one is Acolyte of Chayula. So number 1 is Mana Leech is instance. And number 2, your Mana Leech effect also recover energy shields. And point number 3 is 2-pointer. It will give you 10% maximum chaos resistance, and your chaos resistance is double. So this is pretty good defensive node. And number 4, you have 23% to gain 25% damage with hit as extra chaos, and 13% chance to gain 50% damage with hits as extra chaos, or 7% chance to gain 100% damage hit with chaos. I think this one is a very good 2-pointer. And number 5 is the bridge. We see this on refill. And number 6, the effect and duration of Flame of Chayula on you is double. So Flame of Chayula is something like a remnants on the Blood Mage. It will drop on the ground and you have to pick it. And the red Flame of Chayula leads 7% of your maximum life to you. And blue flame will lead 7% of your maximum mana to you. And the purple will provide a stacking buff, grant 7% damage as chaos damage for 5 seconds and stack up to 10. And number 7 is the Embrace the Darkness, remove all spirit, base maximum darkness is 100. And for each life and an energy shield lost to damage, reserve 1 darkness instead if possible. And point number 8 will make you gain 1% of damage as extra chaos per 20% unreserved darkness. And for the last one, Inner Silence, it will give you 50% reduced darkness reservation durations. And that means this darkness reservation lasts for 10 seconds, now will only last for 5 seconds. So that's all the ascendancy node, and if you want to check the post, I will leave the link in the descriptions. So I hope this information will be helpful for you to decide which ascendancy you want to play. One thing to remember again, number 1, you cannot change ascendancy on the early access. They make changes later, but for now we cannot change ascendancy. And the second point is you only have 8 points of ascendancy point. So make sure if you want to choose which node you want to take, make sure you have enough points to take them. So that's all I have for you guys. And thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one.